Okay, good night, good night, good night to all those who are now joining. A very pleasant good night or good evening to you, good morning to you, good afternoon to you, whichever part of the world you're now joining. Share the live, the GMS Live, Voice of Democracy, and the GMS Live Radio Guyana is active. Share the live as you are now joining, share the live. I know there's a lot of people doesn't want to hear from Gavin Matthews because of lately I am picking away at the truth that the de facto government is trying to hide. So, I am bringing the facts to you tonight. It's a very pleasant evening, and I would like for you to get a nice paper and a pen or a notepad and a pen because tonight is a very good night. It's an educative night. I am going to speak on the SOPs and the statement of declaration and also the letter the chief elections officer would have written the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission, and that will be part of that discussion this evening. And I want to make sure that I bring it up particularly so we can get an understanding of what it was. I don't know much because I'm now getting to understand this computer that I'm using, the system that I'm using. So bear with me. There's certain images that I cannot put up, but because I don't know if it was directly the same thing. Not directly to get to put it up directly, but I'm having some difficulties in putting it up. Okay? So hold on. So I'm getting to understand how this thing actually works. So bear with me a bit before I start. To those who are now joining, share the live. Let people know that Dr. Matthews is in the house. Okay. So at least I'm getting there to a point. Oh, brother. Bear with me a bit, everyone who's now joining. I'm trying to make sure that I get my information up and running. To those who are now joining, there is information that I will be presenting that would be on the screen like this. And I cannot get to enlarge it. Hold on. Yes, I can't get to enlarge it, but if you can enlarge it from your perspective, I don't mind. I don't mind, but I am trying to get it enlarged so uh, to those who are looking can be able to get an understanding of what I'm doing tonight, this evening. So I have 4 documents. As a matter of fact, it's 3, not 4. It's 3. And I want to discuss it tonight. It is based upon the elections of 2020 because some people seems to have a hypoglyphic idea that we are picking up on the de facto administration when they are not legally elected. So we're going to discuss that tonight, and we're going to talk about the reasons why they have the elections petition. So to those who are now joining, a very pleasant good evening to you from Guyana to the Caribbean and around the world. Sorry for the late start. This is Dr. Matthews coming to you live on the GMS Live Voice of Democracy and the GMS Live Radio Guyana. So a pleasant good evening to you. This is what is bothering me. It seems like the People's Progressive Terrorists Party is getting comfortable. So people are running away with the idea that they were duly elected because nothing is happening from the opposition side. I want to correct that view tonight. I want to make sure that I correct that view tonight. And the reason why I want to make sure that I correct the view tonight is because I want people to know that this is an installed regime. We had an electoral coup, and that electoral coup came from the presence of the PPP, the PPTP, the People's Progressive Terrorist Party, because that is what they have done. So share the live tonight. To those who are looking, I'm going to present to you three documents, but you can only get to see one of them because the other two I can't get it to download to the live stream. I don't know why. I can get one document, set of document to download to the live stream, but the statement of polls tabulation and statement of polls tabulation and also the tabulation of the regional general election that was presented from the recount. Can you remember, ladies and gentlemen, Guyanese all who are now looking, that after the general elections would have come about and tabulated and the results were presented, the People's Progressive Terrorist Party never accepted it. They didn't want to accept it because they knew what was playing out. Right? They knew what was playing out. They knew what was coming down. They knew the end results. So they didn't want to accept it. But you see, the thing is that matter at all. Oh yes, I'm back. Uh, do do excuse when I'm being bounced off of Facebook for a while. It happens now. I realize it start back happening again for a little 5 seconds, 10 seconds, but it doesn't really matter. So when I'm being bounced off, don't disappear. Stay right here. The facts are going to present itself. After the Order 60 came in place and set aside the Constitution, before Order 60 came in place and replaced everything, there was the notion at the Caribbean Court of Justice where Justice Saunders, who are here, who's presently, I don't think he, I think he left, who's presently in Guyana. I see people writing a whole set of stuff in his social media and said he shouldn't be here, he should be recused and all these things. But Saunders came for one particular reason. He came to advise the de facto administration that should this matter be accepted in the Caribbean Court of Justice, you would have already known it would rule in favor of the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. He's not stupid, he's smart. The PPP is not stupid either. They know that they're unconstitutional. Ask a fraud. He's going to tell you. But by the way, I don't think he knows much about it. But the thing is that there is enough evidence to show why this whole scenario is a fraud. And I'm going to start from the elections, chief elections officer, Mr. Keith Lowenfield. And to those who are now joining, I very much appreciate, as I said, get out your notepad. You understand? Now is the best time to get it out. And let us go through what he has said. Now we are reading from the Elections Commission Secretariat, Chief Elections Office of the Chief Elections Officer, addressing the retired Justice Claudette Singh, chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission. And I'm going to give you the very first reading. Okay, good. If you notice that letter that is before you, that is the letter addressing the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission from the Chief Elections Officer. And it says at the top there, it says, clarification on request to prepare and submit elections report. He said, and it says, your massive, it's supposed to be message, but your massive on the subject re-preparation and submission of the elections report dated 9th of July has been received on even date. I reviewed the judgment of the Caribbean Court of Justice 2020 CCJ 10 open and close bracket AJ GY. That is the file case. And it says here, and some clarifications are imperative prior to the preparation and submission of requested report to safeguard against any actions deemed to be unilateral. The second paragraph says the court endorsed the view that GCOM cannot determine credibility, paragraphs 41 and 42 and 45 of the CCJ's judgment. It says GCOM cannot determine credibility, which credibility means paragraph 41 and 45 of CCJ's judgment. It therefore holds the order 60 of 2020 cannot be executed in its entirety as subsequent. A final credible count as conceived by the Commission and expressed order cannot be attained. Further, the citation of sections 96 of the Representation of the People's Act, sections 103, in the request of another elections report requires clarification. Kindly provide guidance. Kindly provide guidance. Okay, I think somebody was trying to call there, but I cannot answer the call. It says here, and the Chief Elections Officer is asking the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission after notifying her, because it is his position to notify her on the subject's law pertaining to the elections, right? And he was asking, it says, kindly provide guidance on how sections 96(1) of the Representation of the People's Act could be properly operationalized. Of particular relevance are two facts. One, that the elections law envisage that the votes counted and information furnished would be provided by statutory officers. And two, the allocation of seats is premised on the statutory report from the returning officers. And it's noteworthy that the CCJ clearly stated in paragraph 37 that the allocation of seats in the National Assembly and the identification of a successful presidential candidate are determined on the sole basis of votes counted and information furnished by the returning officer under the Representation of the People's Act. As such are aware, the national recount was not undertaken by returning officers. Good. We're going to go to sections, the other paper that is available now, which is the one that I just clicked to. Good. It says here, hold on. It says here, oh, it says here, the including opinion, paragraph 52 of the CCJ's judgment states that Order 60 is an intention with, is in intention with the Constitution of Guyana and cannot create a new elections regime. Kindly provide guidance on which results of the elections of March 2nd, 2020 can be lawfully declared. And he said finally in his last paragraph that the historic practice of submission of the elections report to the chairman has been premised on the ascertainment of the results by the chief elections officer. The structure of your massive suggests a change in operational procedures and a future and further to the two citations appear this mere dissimilar in the regard. Clear guidance is required with the request to whether the report being requested is premised in the sections 18 of the Elections Law Act 15 of 2000 or an Article 177(2)(b) of the Constitution, submitted by your consideration and future guidance. Sincerely, Keith Lowenfield. Good. There we have it. That particular report by Keith Lowenfield. Because remember, Mr. the president of the Caribbean Court of Justice. Oh, brother, I just mentioned his name, but my brain is so filled. It is pregnant with such joyful information that I'm willing to bring it back. Justice Saunders. Right. So, Justice Saunders, in his judgment of the CCJ, in his judgment in the CCJ, paragraph 52 of the CCJ judgment states that Order 60 is in tension with the Constitution of Guyana. That means that it's a complete separate electoral regime. So it becomes it becomes a contention with the electoral laws of Guyana. It breaches the Constitution. It takes away the representation of the People's Act, the body in which is created so the electoral regime can flourish upon, so we can have a free and fair elections. So there we have Mr. Lowenfield citing under the guidance of his legal advice from his office, is citing sections of the Caribbean Court of Justice ruling handed down in paragraphs where the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission, her actions now is in contentions with the Constitution. Hold on. Oh, brother. Yes. Her actions is in tensions, two separate words. I said contentions just now. Is in tensions because Order 60 is in tension with the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. So, how can you now take away? And he's asking, he said, finally, the historic practice of submissions of elections report to the chairman has been premised in unascertainment of the results of the chief elections officer. That means to say it is changed because now the chief elections officer, according to Constitution, submits the electoral results, the tabulated results of the elections to the chairperson, which she now becomes guided by that. She changed that. So, in other words, it's impossible for you to charge Lowenfield with a dereliction of office. Keith Lowenfield. So, you might want to know what I'm getting at, but just now I'll be able to round it up for you nice and lovely. So, Keith Lowenfield is not only setting up the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission, that's why she can't resign from the position. She can be charged for treason. She, believe you me, for them to accept any further electoral process like a snap elections from this same woman is an act of indefinite treason. She's already treasonous to the Constitution by Order 60. I don't care if you got to add the two to it, Jack Dion Granger, but her her actions become an intention. It becomes it has tensions with the Constitution. That means it has different values. The Constitution wasn't set up to have different values added to it to bring about an electoral process. It says clear and straight that electoral process is brought about by two things: votes and information furnished to those votes, and secondly, by returning officers. He even went about and said that the returning officers was never present at the recount. So that makes elections more invalid than be validated. That is why that is why the results of the recount was dependent upon those who were there in charge of the recount and not the returning officers, because the returning officers constitutional actions was to make sure that the counting of votes become valid by information furnished. They would have had to open the box, check how much votes in the box, how much counted, how much spoiled. They were never there to do that. So the recount becomes unconstitutional. That's a different electoral regime that was never constituted. So the representation of the People's Act were being violated by the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission and her fraudulent acts by herself and the three commissioners that represents the PPP, who are now treasonous. That's what they did. They not only violated the Representation of the People's Act, which is in the Constitution, their acts were treasonous. It was unconstitutional to take away the constitution from a people and from a government. It is treasonous act. That is why I bring up the conversation tonight again, because I want people to understand where I'm coming from and the information garnered. You see, you cannot blame the chief elections officer anymore, because he submitted a letter to the chairperson seeking her guidance, and he, even before that letter is submitted, within the letter, he sought her guidance with legal advice, quoting not only the Constitution but the ruling. And I'm going to post it up on Facebook. Wonderful after tonight. And the ruling of the Caribbean Court of Justice. Because he wanted to make sure that his actions were approved. So you can't say that he do it off his own. Because since now, the courts are now telling him, that he is to be guided by the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission. Well, then, for him, it's the other way around. Because you're now breaching Constitution, you're taking away my rights, which is the only right to declare an election. You're taking away that right away from me. Instead of you being subject to my declarations, he's now being subject to the directions from the chairperson, which is unconstitutional. That's why Vincent Alexander and the rest of them, they stay out. I understood why. Because they realized that the entire commission of commissioners were in breach of the Constitution. They were not there to make up their minds to have complete autonomy. The Constitution didn't say that. Because here is it again, according to the statement that I just gave. It says, finally, the historic practice of submission. This is the Chief Elections Officer addressing the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission. Finally, the historic practice of submission to the elections report to the chairman has been premised on the ascertainment of the results by the Chief Elections Officer. Means taken away from him. The structure of your missive suggests a change in operational procedures, and further, the two citations appear in dissimilar. In regard, the clear guidance is required with respect to whether the report being requested, that's her report that she had wanted, being requested is premised on sections 18 of the Elections Law Act 15 or of 2000 or on Article 1772B of the Constitution. He's asking her, look, if you want me to submit certified tabulated ballots and not votes, you have to direct me, because I am guided by the Constitution. That's what Keith Lowenfield was telling that woman who committed treason by Order 60. He was telling her that his office as Chief Elections Officer is guided by the elections law or the Representation of the People's Act, which is in the Constitution that is guided, has been guiding that office all the time at elections. He was asking her for that. And that letter that I'm talking about is after the second declaration of the recount. Remember, there were three declarations. First, there was a legal declaration based upon the 10 returning officers. And then there were the second declaration based upon the recount. So we're going to read the second declaration now. We can go into the second declaration. Just hold a minute for me, please. I'm so much annoyed that I didn't really get to. Okay. I didn't really get to post up these other two things. I don't know why it's preventing me from doing so. But this is Keith Lowenfield. I'm going to put all of this. I think I can put this on Facebook, but where I can put this on this live stream, I think it's becoming a problem. So what I could only put what I can put up. I think, and that was the letter furnishing from the CEO to the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission. But the other two, I don't know why, if it's because of the size of the file that I can't put it on on the live stream, but I'm going to go into it. It says here, Madam Chair, Justice Retired Claudette Singh, carbon copy to commissioners. From Chief Elections Officer Mr. Keith Lowenfield, date the 10th of July 2020. Subject, results, general and regional election. It says here, with reference to the above caption, please see the attached tables. Hold on, let me turn this phone landscape right. Please see the attached table showing the results tabulated from the returning officer's declaration. The results tabulated shows the distribution of seats of the National Assembly's. No, this is the first, sorry, this is the first declaration, as a matter of fact, not the second, right? It says here, right, the results tabulated shows the distribution of seats for the National Assemblies, the regional democratic councils. Below is a summary breakdown of seats allocated to by the contesting parties for both general and regional elections. The AFC, APNU AFC, in the general elections has won 33 seats, 13 geographical constituency seats, and 20 national top-up seats. The PPP/C won 31 seats with 12 geographical constituency seats and 19 national top-up seats. Joinder of lists ANOG, LJP, and TNM, 1 seat, national top-up, and it declares the regional elections in region 1 to 10. You understand? It tells you which region the AFC, APNU AFC won, and which region that the PPP won. It says region 1, the APNU AFC got 5 seats, and the PPPC got 10 seats. Right? In region 2, the AFC got 5 seats, the PPC got 12 seats. In region 3, the APNU AFC got 9 seats and the PPPC got 18 seats. In region 4, the APNU AFC got 22 seats and the PPPC got 13 seats. In 5, 8 seats to the APNU AFC and 10 seats to the PPPC. It says here in region 6, 10 seats to the PPP, 10 seats to the APNU AFC and 20 seats to the PPPC. Region 7, APNU AFC got 8, LJP got 1, PPPC got 6. 8, AFC 7 seats, LJP 1, PPP got 7 seats. In 9, PPP got 6 seats and PPP got, sorry, APNU AFC got 6 seats and PPPC got 9 seats. And 10, the APNU AFC got 15 seats and the PPP got 3 seats. Right? This is a reference to what took place. Hold on. Oh my gosh. So, oh my gosh. By the way, it's not going out. I don't know why, but I'm going to post this up. I'm going to post this up at the time view. Now, in the declaration of the very first declaration, it was given to the understanding that the APNU AFC has won the elections by a majority of a single seat. It was divided, each seats now were then divided into a categorical amount of 7,000. Hold on. I'm trying to come out of this thing. Oh, yes. Good. Oh, yes. Good. I think I got it here. Right. It says here that the total valid votes casted was 475,000 votes, 475,118 votes. Number of seats, 65 seats. Electoral quota votes per seat is 7,309. That's the electoral quota votes per seat. So the APNU AFC number of votes per party, and I'm talking about the calculation of number of seats allocated per each party, right? And it says here number of votes per party, APNU AFC 236,777. The PPPC 229,330. The joint list, which is ANUG, LJP, and TNM, make up 5,090. What I'm trying to find out, since I was looking at it today, is that how did they get a seat in Parliament? And the quota per seat is 7,309. But as it is stated, is that they got a seat based upon the rules and regulations of the electoral laws, which includes 5,000. Anything over 5,000 is a seat required. So what I presume that the seat was given to them because they had passed the 5,000 margin. But between APNU AFC and the PPPC, their seats were divided up into a regulatory size of 7,309 votes per seat. The thing is that, put aside all of that, Justice Saunders of the Caribbean Court of Justice had said even to when we approach the Caribbean court in his ruling, in his written ruling, that Order 60 was a different electoral regime. It created intentions. It created tensions, sorry, institution. Enough tensions to show that the elections could only be declared based upon credibility and not validity. The recounts could not be valid because it did not have the returning officers required, which was now deemed unconstitutional. The Constitution says the only person who can declare a district after an election is the returning officer, not the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission. So how can we listen? How can we, the thing is that I am trying to find out how can our politicians who knows what went on, the truth of what went on, be accepted into our electoral rule. I'm trying to I am trying to envisage in my mind how did we come about to this pass? So before the embarrassment and all the insults that are now coming down, it is now a question or a suggestion required to them to hold a snap elections. Because as the days go by, the validity of your government seems not to be verified. It's simple common sense. Here we have the chief elections officer who's telling the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission, hey, according to the Constitution, you are guided by my report and only my report. You cannot instruct me. The only instructions come from your office is before the elections to say how many polls can be admitted to the area, how many polling agents, what are we looking at as a salary, what is the transportation. That is your complete autonomy over that elections process. When elections now has been finished, your autonomy and authority finishes there. My own now starts. That is how the democratic process runs because he's now telling the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission, hey, if you want to recount, because he was talking about Order 60. You understand? If you want a recount can only happen with returning officers because they are held accountable for those votes from those districts, not him, the chief elections officer, or the chairperson. The returning officer are being held accountable for the validity of those votes and the tabulations of those votes. So he was telling the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission, hey, watch, if my office now falls under your control after elections, well, guide me. And then he didn't only ask for guidance, he quoted the Constitution. in his submission, that letter, he quoted the Constitution and he asking her for guidance. Look, I don't got a problem, but guide me. But whilst I'm asking you to guide me, I'm showing you where the Constitution lies pertaining to validifying an elections. So anything outside the door, me going to jail is you. So how could the representation of the People's Act give the chairperson to act outside of the parliament? Because as far as I'm concerned, the parliament is the only law. The National Assembly is the only body that meets to to change law or to amend laws. And she's not a part of the National Assembly. She's not a member of parliament. So the thing is that one is left to wonder if that happened 2 years ago, because on the 2nd of August, the de facto terrorist government was took over, installed, and from since then to now, one keep asking the question, where is the Constitution? Does the Constitution only applies to the de facto regime when they think or sees it worthy of? And when they don't want the Constitution to apply, then they beat it up. Because if you look right now, it's a lot of craziness is going on to the Constitution. We got a magistrate judge who's refusing to charge a lawyer over physical and verbal abuse of a citizen of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana who also is the curator of the law. When they go there, they make sure the law is exercised to promote law and order. So it looks like now the judicial system is above the law, because since when all this lawlessness happening, it's best it continue. So you could imagine if they call in a snap election, what the snap election is going to look like. Because if you can create Order 60 to take away the will of the people who have voted for a party of their choice, imagine now if an election is called tomorrow morning, what can happen then? Because it's the wrong regime in that has never won the elections. You think that they can prepare for next elections where they will be out? No, sorry. Listen to me carefully. To those who are looking, the People's Progressive Terrorist Party does not have a not a constitution, did not have a constituency anymore. The race vote that they depend upon all depleted out of this country. Mass migration. Over 200 something thousand people disappear out of this country. So they don't have people to vote for them, to put them in power. That's one. And the region that is left that has the majority of the people, because the AP and US gotta get 3 regions or 4. Regions 4, regions 10, 3, and 7. Everything through the door. Everything is through the door. Check it out. They don't have a voting constituency. We are now the majority. That's what we are. We are now the majority. They will continue and they will have to continue to rig the election, because between 1992 and 2015, over 200,000 plus Guyanese left these shores and never returned. left these shores and never returned. Guyana has seen one of the largest migration in the Caribbean community within 15 years. Within 15 years. So now the APNU AFC can't come and tell me that they lose the election because they're the only party that has a voting constituency. The PPP is so desperate that they're willing to divide Region 4 into four voting blocks and give the areas that has the lesser population more seats and the area that has the more population less seats so they can win in elections. According to the International Republican Institute, the IRI that is here, to make sure that they dissimulate the Representation of the People's Act, ROPA. Jack Dio wants to tear it up. And the ridiculous thing is that there was a declaration. I just can't understand up to now how we could just give up an election that we win fair and straight. We win an election for over 7,000 votes extra. Actually, 10,000. And we just give up. Yeah, I'm trying to. And the hurtful thing is that the people them who just give up want to fight to pull you down like crabs in a barrel. I mean, come on, we're already beaten up. Guyanese are hurt so much that they can't even believe it up to now. They got some of them left in shell shock. That a declaration was made by the chief elections officer who is constituted his rights. The operations of his office is constitutionally guided by the Representation of the People's Act, by the elections law, which is according to Parliament, and the Representation of the People's Act. And you just give it up and expect people to sit down and accept these defraudulent characters that are there. They're criminal and a criminal enterprise. And they're walking around with their ministers talking about one Guyana. You took away Guyanese rights to select a government of their choice. You took away here. Let me tell you something. The Venezuelans that are here and the Brazilians that are here still can't make up for the people that disappear. The mass migrations, they still can't make up. And let me tell you this, most of the Venezuelans that are here are looking for Guyanese citizen, yes, for one particular reason. For Guyanese citizenship, for one particular reason. To get a US visa and beat out. Then they're here for stupidness. The Brazilians don't got time with the elections. So them thing that they talking about that they putting in y'all head so y'all can spread that information, it's a bunch of fake. They ain't got nothing to do. Anything that comes out of the people, the de facto regime's mouth, it's lies and all lies. And those house slaves that they got gonna keep promoting it. That's their position, to continuous promote and disseminate the information, because we are so ignorant that we can't follow our own information. We can believe the things that they say in fear. You can imagine people walking around saying, "Oh, the registering the Venezuelans, boy, what we gonna do?" I mean, seriously, you can't think. Seriously, You want to see what the Venezuelans are doing? Go on any God given morning by the US Embassy and see how much of them line up there. Go at any given morning. The Venezuelans and the Cubans, they're there. Both of them seeking political asylum in the US. Go there. It's common sense. Y'all stop telling one another the nonsense. We are the only voting constituency leave back. These people get beat so bad. They get a wash of licks in Region 4 and in Region 10. Them two regions alone make the AP and UFC won the election. Outright. And imagine we give up. They lost the election by 15,000 votes. I think it was, no, sorry, about 25,000 votes they lost the election. Or so was given. Because you could understand how many dead people vote and how many people were proxy, voted via way of proxy. That is why we can't recognize this de facto regime. Ari Barton best don't sign that recognition because that means you're not going to contest against a legal government in the next election. We want them out. They gotta go. We gotta speak. There's no space for them. They gotta do the Michael Jackson. They gotta moonwalk across the stage. They got to slide. We got to get real with the information that is there for us. Oh, people, oh, this thing they're on the internet. They're in places that you could go and ask, and you can get the information available. It's not a big secret or a big secrecy. They're right there. If you can't find it, ask your political representative because they have access to all these files. Feed the people, bring the people aware. How can you have a de facto regime sitting governing you and it wasn't your will to put them in there? The majority stands, and we are the majority. The PPP can't come wrong no more with race votes. They don't have the people to vote race anymore. Their own people. You can imagine they had 22 years of governance and their own people beat out when they were governing. That's why they cannot govern. They don't know how is it to govern and what is it to govern. So the own people that voted for them in 1992 go along out the way. Mass migration. They ain't coming back. They would have done me back home here already. Why I think Robert Prasad running around the place now trying to encourage them to come back home to invest. Them people ain't coming home. No, we are the majority, and they gonna tell us that, but we still scared of them. Imagine the majority scared of a few dollars and cents. These people are terrorists. You got to confront them. The only way you confront terrorists is do to them the things that they do to us. You got to break down their regime, their principalities, their demonic group of people. You got to stand up to them, drill a hole in their demonic principles, their evil and wicked ways. Call them out, stand up against them. If we do nothing, we go nowhere. Nothing happens. We're like this all the time. And God pour me, sending me pressure up, trying to still educate you. Because you know why? Not only my love for you, but of country. It's because my loyalty to this country and to the Constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, Guyanese all, it is always a pleasure coming to you every night to bring to you the facts and the truth of this country in the position it is in. Guyana is a failed state. And if we continue to see and look at it in this way, we will feel the blunt of the edge. And I'm telling you that. And before I leave, I want to encourage you. Russia has changed the dynamics of world power into this world. US dollar is no more accepted on the world stage. So those who got them fancy US dollars lumped up, they become a time they not be valid anymore because the OPEC community is now turning to silver and gold, rubies and yen. They're going to isolate the US currency. It will be no more. They're going to come a time when you're in need to stock up on your shelf. Get ready. You're studying about DeMarco. Get ready. There's going to come a time when the wealth of your sweat is in need and US dollars can repay for it. This is Dr. Matthews saying good night. Thank you very much to all those who tune in. Black love to you all. Don't forget to call and place your orders. I want you to stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, wear a mask. And don't forget the little ones you take into public places. This is Dr. Matthews saying good night and Cheerios for now.